Well, we were talking about title stuff too, right? Because it's just called Ballerina.
I've seen the subtitle being
A John Wick
the
movie or
John
something.
Wick world or
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
John Wick story or whatever.
They did
but-
this with the Saw when they had Spiral.
Yeah, they did.
They're like a Saw movie or something. Or it was so dumb. And
We are fumbling on titles lately. I just
Yeah.
saw that the
Yeah.
F1 movie is now changed
Yeah.
to F1 the movie, and I'm like,
no,
oh, don't do
why-
that.
That's a
I know.
Sony move.
Don't
do
do that.
Just
Why
leave
would you
it.
need to?
This is the Off the Break Podcast, your podcast dedicated to current movie theater news, operations, and insights from the people that book the movies.
Welcome back to another episode of Off the Break Podcast, where I am playing the host, Kyle, and joining me is Cody and Alyssa, where we are here for vampire talk.
Hey.
Yes, 80s vampire talk. The best vampires.
And I think 90s, 2000s vampire talk, because I was hearing Cody talk about True Blood.
Yes, yes. When we get to it, I mistook a scene from True Blood for a scene from our popcorn bucket pick Once Bitten.
Which I still...
all the vampire movies I've seen are just like meshing in my brain together.
I mean, there's a lot of them, so.
Yeah,
There's
30
a-
years of
there's a lot
vampire
of them,
movies.
Yeah.
but each one of them is going to look different from the other.
It's still somebody biting somebody else.
As the same general sort of thing. All right. Well, how about we first just talk about what's going on when it comes to the bookings and with the box office, and
Yeah.
we have our expert Cody here to help us break it down.
Oh, finally.
Lay it out
we're,
for us.
We're finally getting into some good product into the summer season. It's exciting. I think this Memorial Day, May 23rd weekend is going to be huge. Like between Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible, which, you know, when you have a film that's like two parts where Mission Impossible was split up, the first movie is always a little like, why do I go see that? I want to see like the end climax.
Yeah.
And so we're at the end climax movie and it's really exciting. I think there's a lot of buzz for it. And it's not being distracted in the market with other things like when the first part Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning came out. We had Sound of Freedom, which took a really core conservative male audience away, and then it never like found its footing because then we got into the Barbenheimer stuff. So
Yeah, right after.
that poor Mission just like was lost in the weeds. But this
Poor Tom Cruise.
Poor
yeah.
Tom Cruise.
But this one, I think, is like front and center. It's playing opposite Lilo and Stitch, which is kids and families. So I think it's like perfectly positioned. I think it's what they wanted to happen with the first part, but now they're getting it with this part, and I think we'll see its true potential. Definitely.
Yeah, and it's tracking well. And
Yeah.
people have said it's kind of everything you could
Expect.
ask for.
Yeah. I don't think there's any crazy twists or surprises. I think it's got a good wrapped up ending, probably. So
Yeah.
Not to mention the action, obviously.
it's gonna be
The
amazing.
stunts.
Yeah. So that'll be really good. And then the last week in May is just like a weird holdover weekend of Memorial Weekend.
One too many weeks in this month.
Yeah. and then we get into June and there's going to be some great films there. I think obviously the biggest one is going to be the How to Train Your Dragon live action. There's a lot of buzz with that. I think that's going to appeal to adults and kids. So a 4-quadrant film right there, right before, 4th of July. So right in the middle of June, which is a perfect timing. We had, I think last year, Inside Out at that June 14th, middle of June time. And man, that just held through and was so big. And so, yeah, I think this one's really well positioned. And then we got, a bunch of other good filler for that time.
Yeah.
And we're looking at Karate Kid and Ballerina, and I think they'll do okay. Karate Kid comes out that May 30th, and then
That
Ballerina.
weird weekend you were mentioning.
Yeah, that holdover weekend. I think that'll hurt it a little bit, but
Sure.
but it is getting in before How to Train Your Dragon. So whereas Lilo and Stitch might play a little on the younger side, just given the age of the character, and Stitch being more of that cuddly creature, coming in after that, but before the dragon movie, which is definitely its Karate Kid's audience, the nostalgic factor, all that.
I think the nostalgia factor needs to play in for Lilo and Stitch as well.
Yes.
I feel like the younger millennial, older Gen Z crowds are going to be I don't know if excited would be the right word, but I think that it's such a beloved movie for them that they would go out and champion this one. So I don't think it's just going to be young kids and families.
No, I think you're correct. I think Karate Kid maybe misses the millennial age group a little bit. I feel like that's more Gen X.
Yeah.
So I think that might hurt it a little bit because I don't think millennials, at least in my time, got a good Karate Kid remake or anything that you're like, yeah, I like that franchise.
Not really.
Justice for Jaden Smith.
No.
Speak for yourselves.
Okay.
It's fine.
Fair.
It's fine.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how much nostalgia plays into that or if it's just introducing it to a whole new audience. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for.
Probably the latter,
Yeah.
admittedly.
And then Ballerina, I'm really concerned. That one is the big question mark for me because I don't think Lionsgate knows how to does any promotion or marketing. I know that they say they do, but their last few films have just opened under 10 million. I mean, that's
it's been rough.
under
million?
5 million for a studio that wants to be considered a major and that considers themselves a semi-major and that gets upset if you book something from an independent studio that you know will do better than them and that did do better than them and you took it before them. I find it just hard, to believe that this one's going to be that big.
I mean, look, with the John Wick name and Keanu is being shown in the trailers as like a part of this movie, maybe there is some hope for it, but I also think audiences can pick up that he's not the right-hand man for
he's
the whole
not the
thing.
main character. He's not even the
Who knows how much he'll be in
wide
it,
sage
even.
backup character.
Right.
He's just a cameo character in it, and it really is somebody else's movie. And
Which I think for whatever marketing they might see and see that of Keanu, I think they will pick up on that.
yeah.
Well, we were talking about title stuff too, right? Because it's just called Ballerina.
I've seen the subtitle being
A John Wick
the
movie or
John
something.
Wick world or from a John Wick story or whatever.
They did
but-
this with the Saw when they had Spiral.
Yeah, they did.
They're like a Saw movie or something. It was so dumb. And
We are fumbling on titles lately. I just saw that the
Yeah.
F1 movie is now changed
Yeah.
to F1 the movie, and I'm like,
no,
oh, don't do
why-
that.
That's a
I know.
Sony move.
Don't
do
do that.
Just
Why
leave
would you
it.
need to?
And the trailer was it was just from the new trailer. It
Yeah.
looks really good still, but
Yeah.
then they were like F1 the movie, and I was like, you had the nail. You nailed it.
Do they
You
really
had the
think,
shot and the ball popped out of the basket. Come on, guys.
Do they really think that audiences are that dumb that they're like, oh, they must be referring to the real F1, not a movie?
Why is Brad Pitt in this
Yeah.
race?
I mean, come on. That's just, it's so lame. I don't know who's the executive that comes up with this. That's like, add the
I don't
movie
know.
to it.
I make fun of audiences as much as the next person does.
Yeah.
But that it is stretching things. They don't need those types of subtitles.
No. Although in the same boat, it might help Ballerina to say a John Wick movie on it.
No, I
think
know,
that
like,
would help,
there's-
but
not when it's like just so
Right.
not when it's a subtitle where it's like I know what this is. Like,
Yes.
it's-
yeah,
I know it's a movie.
I know it's
Thank
a movie.
you.
Whoa.
It's like when they what was it the first Mario Brothers movie was like called that the Super Mario movie from like the 80s or whatever.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
It feels like that type of marketing where everything had like the movie at the end of it.
Right.
I don't think we need that
You're
anymore.
like F1? Let's see F1 the movie.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go see it.
Only in theaters.
Anyway, yeah, so we can get back to Ballerina now.
Yeah.
but
Well,
worth mentioning.
so that is my concern with Ballerina is that it's not going to get the proper marketing to really establish it as a big franchise to go see. It's rated R, obviously, and in your family movie going months. You might be a little early, so it might still work because it's June 6th, I believe, is when it comes out. So
Yep.
early part. But yeah, I am a little concerned. Not that I don't think you're not going to book it and play it. I think you should temper expectations for the gross for it, for sure. And then the rest of the outlook for June looks amazing. I mean, you end it right before 4th of July with Jurassic World, and we talked about F1 and
which still does look good, but the title I think was not the right call for it.
And Megan.
I don't have much faith in Megan. I'll say that right now. I think it's jumping the shark a bit.
I am frustrated that Universal put this as a summer title, and they expect you to have 3 screens of their product or more if you double up your screens. And it just
especially
feels
since
greedy to me because Megan,
it's a takeover.
Megan, the first one, did so well because it came out in January when there was like nothing, and it's fun.
That was the one good movie, can confirm.
It was. It's fun to go see those campy, weird movies in January when there's nothing else really good around. It's a whole nother to be like, oh, I'm gonna go see it again in the middle of summer when I can watch Dragon or I can watch F1 or any of these other really good films. So.
Well, before that, it's going to be 28 Years Later, which is I would say that's probably the big horror title that's going to be coming out, if not for the year.
Well, it definitely has, more interest in it because it's been so long between its sequels.
Yeah, it's part of what's established, but the trailers are also having a pop, I would say. Yeah. They look really good.
So, and it's Sony. So would you, I don't think you tell Sony, no, I'm sorry, I can't play your title because I have to play 3 of Universal's. So I think there's a real issue there in smaller screen locations. If you're going to take a horror title and 28 Years Later comes out a whole week ahead of time. So you would already have it on screen. So you've already made the decision to take that one. It comes first, and it's very rare that you don't take the title that comes first unless the one that comes second is so much bigger. Yeah. Like I could see not taking a ballerina because you have a dragon the next weekend type of situation. But normally you can get away with taking another title of equal value. You would go with the first one because you probably always need that product first. We are short-term, gains, and then we have long-term thinking after that.
Well, then I guess we can pivot on to our next topic, which is the headline of AMC offering 50% off tickets on Wednesdays starting for the summer. That is what most of the headlines are saying, but what is not being said within those headlines is that it is only for AMC stub members.
Yes, the fine print of it all.
So close, guys. But right strategy, but in my opinion, the wrong demographic.
Maybe. I mean, I just don't know. We don't have an AMC, but we have a Regal in our area. But I also don't subscribe to Regal because I don't see enough movies per month to justify the subscription fee. And so I think when you take that into account, and then you have your subscription fee and then you're not paying full price for one of those, it makes it even less like justification to have that subscription fee. I know you get bamboozled that you're getting a lot of discounts here, but it is just AMC, I think, experimenting with what they can do. And I'm sure they got permission from the studios to do this and I'm sure it's just temporary, like for this summer, unless it's really good and they can justify keeping it around. But I know last year Regal experimented a ton with different kinds of discounts. Discounts if you got a code out of your local paper, discounts for certain days or for certain times. Maybe I think like they had, they've been really experimenting with primetime shows and then slightly cheaper super late evening shows and slightly cheaper super early morning matinees, and like trying to create pricing variables depending upon the time of day and the seats in the auditorium. And like I know the theater chains are really struggling trying to find a good mix.
It's nice that they're trying. I mean,
well, at the same time trying to honor their partnership with the studio that is like, give me all the money. So we'll see how this goes. I don't think it'll affect, too many places too often. And I'm not sure that if that 50% is a draw. I think audiences are more simple than that. And they do like something that's easy and tangible, like a $5 discount day. Like if I go today, it's going to be $5.
Right.
I don't have to
do the math.
Math it in my head. Like what's half of this? And
no, that's fair.
So so I'll be interested to see how long this lasts and what the outcome definitely is.
Well, then why would the experiment be for the members that are already paying technically a lower price for their membership to do this to begin with?
I think it's just to limit, the amount of tickets, because I'm sure that on the back end, they're still covering the AMC probably still has to make up the per cap of that market, whatever that ticket price was set at that per cap level. So there's probably a part that they are making up on each of these discounted tickets. So if you're going to experiment, you definitely want to limit your pool to see what your most frequent members are doing. If they take it up and you see a bump on Wednesdays, then maybe you can roll it out to a wider audience if it financially makes sense.
I guess I'm not business savvy enough then, because I feel like you'd want a larger pool as an experiment. But hey, I don't know. I don't got a business degree. What do I know?
Well, I think you start small so that you can control like the fixed costs. Like how many
control the people.
Yeah, like how many subscriptions you have, and so you would say, oh my gosh, if every one of these subscriptions did this on Wednesday and went to this show, this would be my cost to that, and then they can control that. But if you put it out to the general public and then there happens to be like a crazy Jurassic or something that you just don't know how many people are going to walk through that door for, and it could balloon up, I think, and then you're on the hook for part of making up for that. I think that
but then it would show it would work. See, that's my thinking. I don't know. I just think it's a little silly, because I think obviously audiences are wanting to have prices be lowered.
Yes. I think
that's the number one request that they're having. So I would think you would want to offer that, even if it's for a limited amount of time.
Well, I will say
like a good test,
that in history, movies and movie theaters have usually been recession-proof business ventures because they were an economical form of entertainment. So the ticket price was always low enough in the past that no matter what, in a recession, you still got some cheap entertainment this way. I'm not sure that that's the case anymore. And so I think there is, because theaters have put a lot of money into making these experiences even better. Like I'm thinking back to like the 80s and 90s where you had the beginning of multiplexes and you had cheap tickets, but you also had cheap standard seats and just the plain old concessions, and you
got what you paid for.
And now you are still getting what you pay for, but what you pay for, like on the technology front, the experience front, is so much better. It's so incredible what some of these theaters are doing, and there are still small town theaters with very cheap ticket prices, and people are still not frequenting them enough. So I'm not. On one hand, I think that there is a need to bring down ticket prices to make sure that no matter what the economic are out there, the economy is out there. If we hit a recession, we are recession proof, that cheap form of entertainment. But on the other hand, I think you are also seeing that no matter what, we're still product driven, and people will go when the product is good, and people will choose not to go when the product is not as good. And so we need good product, and we need to pull some prices down a little bit. And I think that we'll be at a really healthy balance, but trying to get both of those things is so hard. I mean,
last handful of years has been quite the hopscotching of trying to get everyone on the same page.
I think we're getting back to it. I think another year or two of like this really consistent, really good movie going the studios will catch back up with the product.
Well, now Amazon MGM is going to be a lot in the market too, so that's just a whole other studio to add.
And we have little studios like Neon and A24 that are like filling up the ranks. So whereas we're all upset that the big studios pulled out of a lot of theatrical for their subscription services, we have now an opportunity for little independent studios that have like really fun, interesting product to come in and fill the void. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. So
it makes me like more positive on the outlook of our industry, because we are seeing literally people fill the void right now. It's not dying.
Yeah, I think there is a very big chance that it could smooth out as well. Alyssa, do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, you say it all so well. I feel excited. I don't know. It's hard because you don't want to feel so negative with so much negativity going on with everything right now.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun to be able to bring some happiness around,
Right.
with the movies. And
It's good
it
movies.
looks hopeful, I would say.
Yeah, great movies. And in theaters that have really, over the last couple of years, actually like updated their theaters. And so you are getting this amazing experience for the most part across the country, not just big chains, but little independents. We're looking around going, we gotta upgrade and we got to do stuff, and let's take the opportunity now while it's slow. And they did it.
Yeah.
And so while there is some struggle out there, I think people can look at it more positively, and I think the summer is going to be really good for everybody.
And a lot of movie theaters are so central to the community too, with how many that we have.
Nobody wants to see it go away.
No.
Like deep down, nobody wants to see these things go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe bankers, but they can go to hell.
Well, on that lovely note, Cody, how about you kick us off then with the popcorn bucket pick?
Okay, so we had the theme of the 80s, and I, for some reason, just really wanted to watch a Jim Carrey movie.
Absolutely.
And I had two options. The one I put in the bucket was Once Bitten, his young man vampire movie. And the other one was Earth Girls Are Easy, where he plays an alien.
Holy.
Okay.
I saw the pictures of that and I was like, oh, thank God you didn't put that in the bucket.
Everybody thinks I dodged a bullet with the Earth Girls, but Once Bitten was good. He's not as like super flamboyant Jim Carrey character of himself. He's still young, early in his career. He looks so young to me. He looks like a baby.
Yeah, he does.
It's crazy.
Really though.
But he plays a young 18-year-old high school virginal boy who wants to lose his virginity with his girlfriend, who he's very much in love with, but she's not ready. And now he's like, stressing and freaking out that everybody's doing it but him out there. And he just wants to lose that V card so bad. So he goes out to the bar in Hollywood and meets a vampire temptress and goes home with her and starts this process where she needs a virgin to make her remain youthful.
Yeah.
So she's after him. She's literally on the prowl for him. The only virgin left in Hollywood, I guess.
There's none left.
I love how the premise of the story assumes every teenager is having sex, but this one pure guy.
But it can feel that way. Like that was always like a not timeless sort of thing, but that it is always the feeling, because everyone talks and thinks about sex at those formative years. So of course it's like, oh, that means everyone's doing it but me.
Yeah.
And then like the beginning scene of him failing to have sex with his girlfriend, and then just
in the
looking
car
around and
at like a
everyone's
lookout
just going to town in the cars. But it is kind of like, in a funny, campy sort of way, it is like that feeling of, oh man, I am like really behind on this.
So I remember seeing this movie because I knew it existed, and I remember how it ended, but I couldn't remember the beginning of it. So it was like rewatching it was new to me again, which is really fun when you kind of are aware of something and you don't remember everything with it.
And the ending's super clever. I just was like, I didn't even think about that. Of course you.
he had a window for
Yeah.
it to happen.
If you can't
I was like,
escape
oh, this
the
is gonna happen.
vampires,
Yeah.
and they're wanting the one thing, take away the one thing.
Yes. He had to get his girlfriend on board, and she had to know it was life or death.
Hey,
And that got her ready.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
this is our last night on this earth.
No, so
Or something like that, probably.
I really enjoyed, like, it was still pretty it wasn't like really graphic or any like too risque or anything. It was just
Or bloody.
bloody
No.
or no, it was very PG-13.
Yeah.
Like the light end of that, which
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. I loved it in the 80s. I loved the vampire temptresses outfits. They were so stunning, very deep V plunge necklines, but she just looked so fabulous in all of them.
She was great.
Yeah.
Lauren Hutton, I think, was her
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
I mean, that older woman, like cougar temptress.
Right.
But just her outfits were amazing, and like how the most sexual thing about it was she bit off the buttons of his shirt and spit them out, and then he's like, "This woman bit the buttons off my shirt," and it became like a joke.
It keeps recurring the whole movie. It's like,
like
don't,
her-
I like this jacket.
Yeah.
Please don't that's my dad's jacket.
It's like her
please.
move.
Oh yeah, it was
Tying a
cute
cherry
and
stem.
and kind of pure for what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a bad pick overall. What do you guys think? Because I know that my picks sometimes torture you guys.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
I wasn't. Of course, I was nervous, but I was like, a Jim Carrey vampire movie. This sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I had never heard of it before, and I watched it, and I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like you said, it was clever. It wasn't like too risque. He was calm, but also like Jim Carrey.
You could see the beginnings of him,
and that was fun. I think that was what most fun was to see like the beginnings of him.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the dance number.
Yeah,
I loved that.
It's so good. Yeah, that was.
Did
really
you guys
good.
notice how they paired the music with the story? So so the lyrics and the and I was like, is this an 80s thing? Like Ghostbusters was like that, and
maybe it was just an 80s thing.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this one had it, but he had 2 songs in this one.
He did. But
so good.
But no, it was great. It was fun. It was clever. It was a fun time. I liked it.
Yeah, between this and Crybaby, I'm now even more mad that you showed me other worse movies before these two.
Like I had all the good ones, but
in your back pocket. I don't know. Maybe that's a genius move. Now that I'm saying it out loud. No, I thought this had like the right amount of camp and the right amount of just the right amount of humor and the right amount of like storytelling from like a teen perspective, but like making fun of that teen perspective about the idea of sex. And the vampire stuff is, you know, like you said, it's not graphic, but it's also not overly gothic either. But it's just the right amount of that 80s pop vibe to them. Mixing with the camp. Sebastian the Familiar is
love
the
it.
highlight probably. Which is crazy from a Jim Carrey movie that I'm saying that. But again, it's early Jim Carrey, so you only saw like the little bits of like his true movie star self like really popping out.
His friends were great too.
Yeah, they were good.
They were hilarious as like his like stooges and stuff. Yeah, there was some really funny scenes. I love how they like their jobs was the clown burger place, and they did it so poorly. I was like, how are you still employed? And then his was driving around an ice cream truck, and I totally know that he owned that truck.
That was I was asking you about that. Does he own the truck himself, or does his boss let him drive the truck everywhere, but he still works for him?
No, I think he owns it. I think he's like one of I bet he was so good as a little boy. He did a paper route and he mowed lawns, and he's like,
saved for that truck.
For my first car, I'm gonna get an ice cream truck and sell the ice cream to pay for the gas money. Like he was just pure of heart. That's why he was still like a pure, because she said he was a good pure virgin after the first bite, so she was addicted.
And he's just like, God, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
No, I thought this was a very good pick, Cody.
Yay!
Been doing a very good job.
Work.
Okay, good.
This is the problem. You're setting a precedent now.
Oh no, I'll get you back.
No, she'll find it.
I'll find it.
I'm not falling for it. I'm just happy.
All right, you better pick Ken's.
Okay.
Yeah, he's asking.
Ken's. Wow, there's only a couple left in there.
Yeah, we only got 2 now after this one.
Raising Arizona. This is Shayla's, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be. But it's the Coen Brothers?
Yeah.
And one of the Coen Brothers I haven't seen, so
No,
that
me
makes me
either.
more excited.
I haven't seen this either. I've heard of it.
It's supposed to be
Nicolas
just
Cage
excellent.
and one of like a really good one.
She
But
picked a Nicolas Cage movie?
well,
This isn't like off the rocks Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
Not
this
really. It
is-
works for
okay,
Coen
an
Brothers,
early-
I'd say. Yeah.
this feels like a Shayla pick to me.
I was guessing her, well, Ken, obviously, because I feel like he would.
I know what Ken's is.
So it must not be. Yeah.
Oh, I know what Ken's is.
I don't know if she's just excited in general or if she's excited because it's going to
don't
be
know.
like, not cringe, but.
I think
just
it's gonna be
bonkers.
cringe.
Oh, it's going to be cringe.
Yeah, but well, maybe for me, we'll see.
Well,
I better watch it and like start watching all of these so I
yeah.
get them in the bag. No, so
Okay.
that'll be good. I'll be interested. That feels like a top 100 film that I should probably have watched at some point in my life.
No, myself included. Like
Yeah.
Coen Brothers movies, you probably should have
So
that
good.
as like your starting point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap up our episode. So thank you everyone for watching or listening.
Yes.
And good luck for this next weekend. And we're about to be heading into the Memorial Day weekend as well. So make sure you're extra prepared because it will be a big one.
Yeah.
We have a good feeling about it. Clearly.
Order extra concessions, get your staff pumped up. Let's make some money.
Yeah. All right. Bye everyone.
Bye.